Let's begin what's trending in Guinea-Bissau, where military officers have seized control of the government after President Umaru Embalo and his main opponent, Fernando Diaz, both declared themselves winners of the presidential election before official results were released. The military suspended the electoral process, closed all borders, and shut down airports, resulting in election observers being trapped in the country. Nigeria's former president, Goodluck Jonathan, is one of 36 high-profile observers from the African Union, ECOWAS, and the West African Elders Forum, currently trapped in the country following the military coup d'etat.
I am hopeful at the moment. We have always dreamt of a peaceful Guinea-Bissau, full of love and harmony. I ask my Guinean brothers to remain calm, because whatever happens, it will be for the benefit of all Guineans.
All right, Dr. Abati, your boss is involved. I'll take some reactions before I come to you. Alien wrote on X, saying Africans have a special way of sending a message to the world that they are not mature for a democratic governing system. It seems alien to our people, and I think we need to admit it at least. Another ex-user wrote, this calls for an immediate intervention by the Nigerian government to begin a rapid process of evacuating the former president of Nigeria from Guinea-Bissau. Finally, Okocha wrote on X, I will want to believe that he's safe. This foreign observation business is no longer a joke in these African countries. If you go to rubber stamp corrupted elections, you may never come back in the future. Good luck to good luck. Good luck to good luck. I thought that was this is an awkward situation for Nigeria's former president, Goodluck Jonathan. I mean, he went to Guinea-Bissau to ensure democratic elections only to get caught in a military coup. ECOWAS and the AU have condemned the coup. The question now is, how will they secure the release of their own observers while simultaneously demanding restoration of constitutional order? This is, really an awkward situation.
Well, President Jonathan is chairman of the West African Elders Forum, and he founded that body, and along with other African leaders, they monitor the electoral process, the democratic process, not just in West Africa, but also across Africa. And, he has done a lot in that regard since he left office. Now in Guinea-Bissau, we have a situation whereby President Jonathan and other international observers who were waiting for the announcement of the presidential and parliamentary elections that took place on Sunday. The announcement was to be made on Thursday this week. That's tomorrow. Yeah. And then, or is it today? It's today.
Thursday.
Yes, Thursday is today. And then you have this situation at about 1900 GMT yesterday, whereby a group that calls itself the High Command of the Presidential Order, or what do they say? The High Military Command for the restoration of order, led by General Dennis Nkanha, who incidentally is the head of the military household in the presidential palace. Then what have they done now? They've suspended the democratic process. They have ordered a curfew. They have closed all borders, land, sea, and air. They've detained the president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, the chief of the army, his deputy, the prime minister, and also the other second leading candidate, Fernando Diaz. Now, what is the cause of this problem? Sissoco Embalo, 53-year-old, became president of Guinea-Bissau in 2019. His term was supposed to end February 2025. He had even said he was not going to run again. But now we were told he wants to realize the ambition of being the first democratically elected person to win 2 consecutive terms. Yeah. Since Portugal became independent from, Guinea-Bissau became independent from Portugal in 1974. So he claims victory, ahead of the announcement of the result. Fernando Diaz also claims victory. You have the Prime Minister, Pereira, supporting Fernando Diaz. And that's why, you know, these military soldiers have moved in. Now, we have seen since 2021, democracy being in retreat. Beyond when we were celebrating the consolidation of democracy in Africa, we have now seen in Guinea-Bissau, which is the latest, we have seen in Gabon, we have seen in Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, and Guinea-Conakry. So it's a very sad development, and it's very good that AU has condemned, ECOWAS has condemned, but they must go beyond that. Yes. The international observers that have been caught in the crossfire in Guinea-Bissau,
36.
Every effort should be made to get them released, to allow them passage. The Nigerian president should call this Nkaha, whatever his name is, and tell him that he cannot keep a former president of Nigeria in Guinea-Bissau, a country of 2.1 million people. Keeping our president.
Imagine that, Dr. Abba.
No, the president should step up and say, I'm sending a presidential jet.
Thank you.
You will release former president of Nigeria. And then, you know how they do it. You know, there will be some threats.
Yes, we need
Jonathan. Who are these people? So, and then the other international observers too, every effort should be made to get them free.
All right.
It is ironic, however, that President Jonathan, who in 2015 willingly respected the will of the people and handed over power and conceded defeat. Mbalo, it wasn't clear enough to him to say that with this chairman of West African Elders Forum here, if they say I've lost the election, I should just respect myself. But that is a crisis of leadership that you have, not just in West Africa, but across Africa. All
right. I'm glad that you called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to intervene. I mean, this is really getting out of hand. West African nations are turning into a coup hotspot. It shouldn't be. Meanwhile, the Senate has resolved to amend Nigeria's Anti-Terrorism Act to prescribe a death penalty without the option of a fine for all kidnapping offenses, removing all judicial discretion in sentencing. The resolution followed a motion by Senator Abdul Ningi, who urged the Senate to classify kidnapping as a terrorist offense that would automatically attract the death penalty, irrespective of circumstances or jurisdiction.
Kidnapping now pays more than oil. Kidnapping pays more than sitting as a senator or sitting in the villa. And therefore, as lawmakers, what do we need to do? We now look at kidnapping and say we must amend our laws to say kidnapping is a terrorist act and must therefore be treated as such and must therefore carry the death penalty.
Well, the Senate witnessed a heated debate on Wednesday as Abia South Senator Ehimnaya Abaribe berated the government's failure to hold the military accountable for withdrawing troops from the Kebbi school just before the abduction of 24 students. Abaribe insisted that real governance requires confronting the uncomfortable truth of who ordered the pullout and demanded accountability. Let's take a look.
The governor of Kebbi said that somebody ordered troops out and people were kidnapped. Till today, nobody in Nigeria knows what happened. And no question has been asked. And we are sitting down here as a parliament and we turn and we talk. Yet, somebody is responsible. If I'm the commander-in-chief, I will call the army commander in that place and the head of the army and say, if you don't get me the head of this person who withdrew the troops to put all these children in jeopardy, then you make an example of him. That is how a country is run. A country is not run on pacification. A country is run on confronting issues. I rest my case.
That was a powerful speech. Well, Akpabio has directed Senate Leader Kwemi Bamidele to urgently prepare an amendment to the Anti-Terrorism Act to ensure that once kidnapping is established in court, a death sentence must follow. Currently, Nigeria's Anti-Terrorism Act only prescribes death penalty for kidnapping when the offense results in the death of a victim But here's the problem. Despite the frequency of attacks, many kidnapping cases end up with victims being released and no arrests. So the real question also follows. How do you execute kidnappers when there are no arrests? Vimbai, we know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared a nationwide security emergency, directing the Nigerian police and armed forces to recruit more personnel to deal with insecurity across the country.